Sleepiburgh, a settlement in the fertile farmland near the mountains. Nothing ever happens here, apart from some good deeds and the odd exchange of kind-hearted greetings. A disgusting pit of Hades, in other words.
And welcome to Sleepiburgh. Hey YouTube, this is FireWizard23 and welcome back to Let's Play Dungeon Keeper. So, this level we need to move quickly because we need to seal ourselves off. At least that is the easiest way to start this level. So first we're going to seal off this gold seam here in the north so no one can dig through to us. Because as you notice, we kind of have like this X thing going on with the gold. And there's a keeper to the left and to the right of that seam, as well as enemy heroes to the north, which is going to be our main target once we're all set. I don't have many imps here, so we're just gonna go as we can right now. Hopefully we do not screw up. This is actually my second attempt at the recording. I'm doing post-commentary as well, but I did exactly what you're seeing here, but my enemy actually moved too quickly and actually broke into my enemy domain, and I don't like, and I will always restart the level if that happens, which I recommend too. If that ever happens, you should do exactly what I'm trying to do right now. If you get broken into, reset the level. Don't even try to fight it, because don't let that happen, because it will immediately screw everything up, because you'll be dealing with enemy onslaughts on all sides. Don't bother with it. So today, as I'm doing this recording of this audio, it is the 6th of December. The holidays are fast approaching. So yeah, get your imps up here and get them to clean this area and fortify that wall very quickly. It's like once he's got all this area, bing, 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 pick them all up and just set them on the wall like I'm doing right now, and just seal the wall. That way the enemy cannot get through here. We're going to see it later. They are going to be digging, and they're going to be right up against the wall, so at least they can't get to you. You also notice this is one of the first levels where your heart is actually in a very open space as opposed to being sealed by a room. That's another big reason why not barring this off is going to be important. We've got this little side area here where I am right now. We're going to seal off that wall as well. That way the enemies, they can actually dig into that area on both sides of our dungeon heart. So we're going to seal that off, and then we're actually completely sealed in, and nobody can get us. This level is also interesting because you don't actually get a lot of varieties of monsters in this level. The only thing we will actually get are warlocks. So libraries are going to be our primary source of that thing. Research. We're going to have to do mostly research in the libraries, because that's really going to be the only way we're going to accomplish anything in these levels. We're going to have to use the library, start training up and learning up rooms, and we're going to have to just start building those rooms, so we're really not going to get that many different types of monsters. It's going to pop up here at some point. Yeah, treasure room needed. It's going to pop up here at some point, but we are also going to see that if you want to get to the rooms menu, we don't actually have a workshop in this level. So we're going to have to... There is a workshop available. We'll have to find it later. But let's seal ourselves off first. We'll deal with that later. This takes such a long time, and it's such a pain, but it's really what you have to do on this level. I struggled with figuring out how to do this level for years and years and years, and finally I landed on this idea of just simply barring yourself in, which is a tactic I've used on pretty much all these other levels, but this one, it is so critical. You need to seal yourself in, at least until you're ready. You don't have... There is actually an unlimited gold seam you will have as well, but you're not going to use it yet until the time is right. Other than that, I must admit things have been going well. I'm actually seeing a doctor right now to deal with a present medical issue that I have. I really don't have any more information on that. We have found something that's wrong, and I'm on some medication, so that should be actually... He's pretty sure we've figured out what it is. It's actually just a simple infection. And that's what it is, and I'll know that result in about a month. I'll actually know what it actually is, because he's doing some tests and stuff. And we'll figure out what's going on there. And I'll certainly keep everybody posted if it's minor, if it's something serious. I'll let everybody know what's going on. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry, I'm not dying, but something did come up we got to deal with. I'm a kind of guy, I am one of those kids in high school who, like, I never got really sick. I'm one of those kind of kids. I never really actually got sick as a kid, and so I actually, let me tell you I would get the cold, and I think I've had the flu sometimes, but I remember even going to school even with the flu. I have a memory of that, like, I feel like I've gone to school just incredibly sick before, but it's like, you just don't miss school. That's just simply how it is. But I remember it must have been when I was like 24, 25, I got hit with flu and strep. I have never felt so weak in my entire life. I could not move. That is how paralyzed my body was, and I did go to my doctor, and I had an anesthesiologist, an ears, nose, and throat doctor, and he said did the cotton swab at the back of my throat, and he's like, and he did the test, and he's like, you have flu and strep. I'm gonna prescribe you some antibiotics, and we'll get you all better. That was like the first time I'd like ever come out to work. I had never had to do that. You notice here, we got this kind of wall here, getting back to the game, got this kind of wall structure here, so we're not sure what's up with that, but we'll get to that later. But I need to seal this northern wall, so I'm going to drop the imps right here. I'm working on getting each corner of this place sealed off, and then we'll start constructing rooms around my dungeon heart. Start making things. So yeah, I was never really a very sick child, so this is... Hope my teachers aren't hearing this, but I was a teacher, so I guess it kind of gives me the license to say so. When I was a kid, you wake up some days and you're like, I don't want to go to school. I would ask my mom, hey mom, can I stay home from school today? She'd say yes, and she wrote me a note saying I was sick. And you know what? The teachers believed it. I mean, I never really was out from school, and it's like, well... And my philosophy whenever I was a teacher is like, well, if he does the work and gets all his schoolwork completed, is it really that big a deal that he wasn't here one day? No, it's not that big a deal. I never missed anything critical. I passed all my classes, so like, what was the deal? I took a day off. It's like, you just wake up, you don't want to go to school one day. It wasn't really that I felt sick or anything. I just didn't want to go to school. I think I even did that one time. Like, I just never told my mom, and I asked her, like, Mom, I just didn't go to school today. Can you just give me a sick note? Oh, sure. My mom was great. My mom's awesome. I don't think she was happy with it completely, but like she's like, oh, whatever. He's going to school tomorrow. Whatever. So yeah, we got these little square. You saw I dug through the gold seam to get to the portal at first to get to that northern wall. We do have these square seams of gold we're going to start digging out. And I will just have my imps do it. I'm also going to make these two awkward rooms over here and to the east square as well. Yep, see, I got it already tagged. And we'll connect these rooms together, and also want to put a room between those rooms. Make a nice little flurry of rooms here. We actually have quite a bit of space to make rooms on this level, once you're all safe. Don't just start digging out these rooms first. Get yourself sealed in first, then come back and do this. You will not regret it. I promise you. So, what else can we talk about? I've been thinking about doing vids for a while now, where I kind of just talk about, really funny stories of my life and stuff, because it seems like those kind of get a lot of views. Not that I want views, but like I think people would find that actually more interesting if they actually like heard. I know people kind of feel like they know a lot about me viscerally just by listening to these videos, but I thought, what if I actually like told stories, like this happened to me and it was really kind of funny, and like I never knew that, and like, oh wow, that was just a really interesting thing in my life. And I thought that could be a topic I could bring up for some of these videos, just to pass time, as just really nothing much is happening that I can really openly comment on. So what can we talk about? What's a cool thing? Oh, here's a really weird thing. Since we're on the holidays, I'll tell a Christmas story. When I was a kid, Christmases were a big thing when I was a kid. We had all the family together. We all lived in the same city at that time. Me, my brothers and sisters, my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, my uncles, we all lived in the same place. And those were big Christmases where we all got together and stuff. And when we moved out to Vermont, we didn't really have those times much anymore. My grandma would send me my present, which was a box full of stationery. And a junk box. I think that's what this was coined. It was called a junk box because it was just simply a bunch of small things, colored pencils, pens, pads of paper, index cards, things that could be used to create, construction paper, scissors, that sort of thing. And I always thought that was really kind of an interesting gift to give kids, like not the gift of creation. Like, I'm going to give you the ability to create things, whatever you want. And that always inspired me to, like, when I created my own board games or whatever, like, I had the pieces and all those parts. And even to this day, like, on my desk right now are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 notebooks right now on my desk, notebooks and or pads of paper. And I have, you know, various stationery surrounding me, because that's just the kind of person I am. I have my own schedule. I have my own leather-bound schedule book that I got, and I've got a little medical journal that I've kept from my doctor, and I've got my rough draft novels in these smaller notebooks, and I've got notes for Ultima here, and I've got my coupon stats here on paper. So that kind of started that whole thing. Finally, I'm going to be able to make some imps to kind of get things going a little faster. I'll be training them up a little bit later in the training rooms. Yeah, so that was just kind of interesting that was something that Did anybody else out there have families who they had, like, weird... Like, you would get, like, a weird kind of gift, but it actually really had a purpose? I kind of put it down below if, like, you just want to share that story. So here we're making the layer. We're not going to... We will want multiple layers, but really I make one big layer over here, and then the room directly opposite I will make into a giant library. And my warlocks, that's what they're going to train. See if somebody's in the sight of evil on me. So the green guy is always very, very active. Blue guy is not very active in any of these levels. So we got a big library. You notice there that you got the question mark symbols, but then we look for the one that has the workshop symbol and it's missing. So we will never learn the workshop here. But there is a way to get the workshop, so we'll get to that when we get there. And start digging this out. I'm going to put a couple hatcheries here so my warlocks, when they're resting, can grab a bite to eat, or when they're researching, they can grab a bite to eat. I'm going to put the training room here, but we're not going to attract any kind of training room monsters. In fact, the only real kind of offense we're going to have is going to be our warlocks. We're going to have to train them up. And my imps are still zipping around grabbing gold. Grab that gold! So let's see, this is where the dungeon really starts coming together, because now we got all the pieces, and it took me a good 12 minutes to get it to this point. This is I will probably split this into 2 pieces, this video, and put them up as 2 separate pieces, because over an hour, that's a long time. I'll probably make like 35 minutes a piece. So my sister and I might have told this story. My sister has a Wii. I no longer live with my sister. I live at my mom's house. My sister owns a Wii, which I'm going to get one too. I'm going to get one as well as a new monitor for my computer that has not only that blue cable in the back for like a monitor, but it also has like the AV cables for like that you see on gaming systems, so you can plug them in and use the game system. I'm going to get one of those kind of monitors so I can use it for Wii, and I'm going to get a used Wii. A used Wii you can get for like $80 now. I'm really impressed with that. And I can also use my GameCube with that too. And my sister and I, we were at GameStop because I wanted to stop there. I had getting some notes, which I actually have right here. I was looking at games we could potentially get. Where is it? Oh yeah, I seen something. I saw like, Wii Punch Out. There's Epic Mickey, Super Paper Mario. There's Rayman Origins, which Tabian00 recommended to me. But we got a copy of Mario Party 8, which me and my sister, when I had a Nintendo 64, we bought Mario Party. Me and my sister played the fuck out of that game. We loved that game. That was awesome. It was like just having a board game already set up for you to just play it is great. And we bought Mario Party 8, and we had to kind of learn how the Wiimote works. But my sister is already like, this was a really good investment. And we paid $40 for it. We paid $40. It was used still at $40, but because it's a first-party game, what do you want from GameStop? But we've had so much fun playing that. We actually just today finished playing the 5th board of the game, and that we've had so much fun. I think what's my favorite? It's a DK. It wouldn't be DK's board because the Treetop Adventure, because that's pretty much pretty basic Mario Party standard board. Hotels? One of the hotels? Do I like the... they've all got their advantage, strengths, and weaknesses. I have to give them credit. There are 5 uniquely different board experiences, and I bet Bowser's is even a more different experience. It's a really interesting game, and I do like what they did with it. And I know the different Mario Parties have done different stuff with the boards, but there you go. Okay, now our warlocks are going to start coming through the portals, but through our portal, they're going to start walking all the way south to get to the heart, then go to the lair, then go to the library to research. That takes a long time, so if you ever start seeing the warlocks, pick them up as you see me doing, and just drop them into the lair so they can make a home, and then they'll just walk over to the very short walk to the library. You also noticed I had sorry, I'm not commenting on this, but I do actually want to tell some interesting stories, and this is a long time. You also notice I started carving out some square rooms up past the portal. That's where I'm going to put some prisons, a torture room, and a... Did I put the temple there? I don't... Graveyard! I put a graveyard there. Like, it's a nice, good spot away from most of the other places, so they have their own spot. I'm not looking forward to this weekend. I have 1 to 10 shifts all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'm training a new girl. And so, gotta keep my wits about me. Recording this at 9 o'clock at night, but it has to get done at some point. It's gonna be a long and arduous process, but it's something I gotta do. So yeah, me and my sister are really enjoying playing the Wii, and now it's like I want to find new games for us to play. So I'm looking to see did I have anything here that we could play? Anything? What do we got? Did I have anything? Excuse me. In my list that we could play, there was an arcade zone. I didn't know how good that was going to be. Seems kind of like it was just... I read online about a lot of the party games, and a lot of people said like it wasn't like a first-party thing. It actually wasn't really that good. But arcade zone seemed innocent enough for what it was. Okay, so we're digging out these rooms here. And here, over in this little corner is where we have the gems vein. So I'm going to make a treasure room here. This is going to be a huge treasure room by the end of this level. I can't believe how big I made it. But I wanted my imps to have something to do. So they're digging out a nice little square room around all these guys. These gold seams and gem mines. So we can get all the gems and the gold. And have it be taken back very quickly without having to worry about distance, because distance becomes an issue in this level. Because it is a pretty big level. The levels have gotten actually pretty large without us really knowing it. They've very slowly added space, and I'm losing my slipper. There we go.
A new room has been researched.
Let's see, what else can I talk about? Do I have any other Christmas-related stories? You ever had a present hidden in a tree? I had that one Christmas. It was back when I still owned a Nintendo. This must have been early 90s. We had a Christmas, Merry Christmas. I must have been like 10. And we'd opened up all the presents under the tree. I was, saying, thank you, Mom, thank you, stepdad, Merry Christmas. He said, and they're like, are you sure you have all the presents? And they're saying, look in the tree. And there was something wrapped in the tree, in red tissue paper, and I opened it up. It was a copy of Bionic Commando. And, you know what, this actually leads into a pretty reasonably interesting story. Oh, I've got my imps training up now. Where, did I get an orc? Is that an orc I just saw? Oh, no, I don't have orcs. I thought I will eventually get orcs laying down parks once I get it. My stepdad, it must have been when I was like 11 or 12 or 13 or something like that. I think this was just a generational thing. My stepdad, I was playing Bionic Commando, and my stepdad came in and sat down next to me on my bed. And it was such a strange conversation he was trying to have to me, and like to this day, I kind of know what I think he was going for, but I don't. I think he was basically trying to talk me out of stopping playing video games. He didn't think it was something that you should do. I mean, I don't think he hated the fact that I played video games, but I think he felt I played them too much. Almost to the point that I was antisocial. And to a degree, I think there is some truth in the fact that people who play video games, some of them are antisocial. I don't think that's wrong. I don't think I am dangerously antisocial, so, I have a job, I talk, and I have real-life friends and stuff. That's not an issue. And I've met a lot of people through gaming, and maybe it was just with the culture of gaming at the time. But I remember he was just having this really strange conversation with me where, I needed to stop gaming, and it was such a weird conversation. I didn't understand where it was coming from, and so I didn't get it. And I feel bad, like maybe he's trying to connect with me or something. Like it didn't make sense. And unfortunately, and 9 years later, he actually passed away from a massive heart attack, and I miss him greatly. Growing up, we had different, he taught me responsibility, that sort of thing. But like, I just remember that one conversation really sticking out in my mind, and to this day, I really don't know what he was trying to accomplish. I really don't, because I didn't understand what the point was. To this day, I don't understand. I do not see video games as a bad thing. Do I think some games are more appropriate for certain gamers, for certain age gamers? Hell yes, but I don't think me sitting there playing Bionic Commando was a terrible thing. That was the most violent thing I'd ever played. I don't think it was terrible. And I have found games that are violent. The first game that I ever, Grand Theft Auto, I find very questionable, but I think Grand Theft Auto can be played very. I think you can play Grand Theft Auto and be very disconnected from the fact that you're dealing with real people. I think you can be very disconnected from it. The first game that I ever played that I actually really felt offended from was Geist. It was an M-rated game, but I'm like, I kind of like what the setup was. I read the back. And in that game, you can actually shoot and kill a live dog. And hear the when you shoot the dog. And I actually found that offensive. I found that so offensive. I think I sold that online. I felt so offended that I could actually do that. I actually was sick to my stomach knowing that I shot and killed a dog. I knew the dog wasn't real. I knew that, but I found that so. That was wrong. Okay, shooting a dog is wrong. If this is American beliefs talking,
a new spell has been
then
researched.
I'm an American, so be it. Oh my god, that reminds me of a weird little tangent story. I'm going off on great tangents, but actually as I'm finding out that I don't really have to concentrate on the gameplay, it's actually pretty easy to make these commentaries. When I got a comment on YouTube pretty recently from something I wrote a year ago. I was watching Leanna's Logs videos, and she put up a video where she was playing with a gun. And me and Leanna had talked quite extensively. If there was any one place I'd actually want to visit in the world, it'd be England. I've actually really seriously considered that I would like to actually visit the UK at some point. Well, the United Kingdom, I think, refers to the entire set of islands, but I refer to almost generically as England. I know that isn't correct. I shall be chastised by you when I get over there, Leanna. And I put a comment on there about the gun. I was like, oh, nice. Now I think I said, and I was joking. It's a comment she would get, and I said, oh, what did I say? I said, oh, good. Now you can shoot the American when I arrive. Yeah, she would shoot me with a pellet gun. I think it's a pellet gun she had. She would just shoot me. And it'd be totally right, because I'd be a foreign immigrant. Somebody only a couple days ago put a comment on there, after a year ago comment, by the way, put a comment on there, and he's like, fuck you, seriously, fuck you. It's like, what? It was a joke. I was talking about me. I was talking about her shooting me. I have no idea how that was taken or what. I have no idea. And if the guy thought I said something offensive, I wasn't meaning anything by it. I feel really bad if he actually thought I was trying to be offensive in some way. But I was talking about me, her shooting me. I just had this idea of me knocking on the door and then her just having fun with a pellet gun, and I just opened up and just.
A new room has been researched.
She's like, oh, Charles, I'm sorry. Ah! I just got a chuckle out of thinking about it. Okay, here's the graveyard room. Oh, and I'm catching my microphone cord. Oh, so far commentary is much more improved in this episode. What else is going on? Let's see. The end of Nintendo Power. I watched a very good video by the Game Overthinker on the Adventures of the Game Overthinker via Blip TV, where he put up basically a nice little requiem set of scenes for the various Nintendo Power covers. I had Nintendo Power for several decades. I know I was subscribed to it. I knew it existed. I got resubscribed to it. It must have been somewhere around number 60. I must have gotten back into it. I know I got past 100. I fell out of Nintendo Power. It must have been about the beginning of the GameCube. I think I stopped getting Nintendo Power. Mostly because I didn't really see a point in having it anymore. I was still a gamer, but it just wasn't doing anything for me, and I wasn't prepared to spend the $20 for a month subscription, for the 12-month subscription. Bah. Just kind of went away. But kind of sad. New Nintendo Power has always been there. It represented that era of gaming. It represented the era of gaming. As cheesy as it was, it actually did represent what gaming was. You'll notice I'm torturing a Warlock here and intentionally keeping him alive because I'm making it so all the other imps all the other Warlocks are moving like 25% faster because I'm torturing one of them. It's like, yeah, this could happen to you, so get moving. But I'm just going to keep the Warlock alive so we can keep that going. You notice I do have mistresses, thanks to the torture room, and I did get the orcs, thanks to... It's telling me here that there are indeed 2 keepers, so I gotta be careful. I got mistresses because of the torture room, and orcs thanks to the barracks. So now they're training up in the respective rooms. I'm still training up the imps. I will eventually have 24 imps, and I will get them all trained up to at least level 3 so they have the speed up spell. A little bit faster, and I'll want to spend some time training up my warlocks as well, because long-range attackers will be very useful. The opponents are going to present a little bit of a challenge, but not too much in this level, pretty much because I am barring myself off the way I am. And here I just break the gold seam so my imps...
A new spell has been researched. Your library
treasure room is full, so they're just bringing the little bit of gold back that my imps are using right there as they're training, so it's no use having them dig the gold out right now. I'll land upon the idea of making the treasure room larger in a little bit here. Just wanted to take a pause there in speaking, because you do kind of wear yourself out. So what else? I just finished a book called Spellwright, which was recommended to me by one of my friends. Here's my thought on reading. I want to be very engaged. Not that the books cannot take time to explain something, but for me, I want it kept very simplistic. It's a very simple dynamic to understand. Not that it can't contain gods or politics that are intense, but I understand it to the point I need to understand it. I think it's a book where it just got a little bit too complex and there wasn't a need for it to be that way. You could easily have cut like half the side characters out of this book and you could have told this story. The ending felt like it should have been part of another book. It was so sloppily and quickly told. It's like, oh, we finished this big battle, and these things happened, and we're leading into like 2 other books in the series, and which I will not be reading, but I could tell it was just so haphazardly handled. I'm like, I'm not reading this. And I've had books. One of the worst books I've ever read. This is the most terrible book I've ever read. Magic or Madness. One of the worst books I've ever read. It's about the idea that you have magic. It follows a young girl. She has magic, but if she doesn't use the magical power in her body, she will go insane. Now that's kind of like the magic will ball up in you, and you should use it in little spurts, so it doesn't drive you mad. And the book doesn't have the character having any motivation. And in fact, I even read forward to the final book where apparently she's pregnant, and now she's wondering what to do with the child, and it sounds very Twilight-ish, actually. And it just doesn't sound... I struggled through that book, and I'm like, wow, this is the worst piece of crap I think I've ever fucking read. One of the best... I take it back. It's probably not the best book I've ever read, but it's probably the biggest surprise of a book I've ever read is The Waterstone. Unfortunately, I can't... Oh, wait a minute. We're just in the middle of commentary right now. Let me just get it. The writer of the book was Rebecca Rupp. Rebecca Rupp. Oh, right there, we notice here's that little weird set of walls that we saw. There is a little passage here that we're going to dig out. And you notice I did torture my... Oh, I don't have orcs yet. I thought I did. I did torture my orc to death, my warlock to death, and now we have a ghost. But here's a boulder trap. I'm going to pick up my imp. This boulder trap will disperse itself in the lava, but I'm just going to follow it here, because I want to pick up any imps who try to claim the territory over there, because I don't want them to get squished, as the rock will squish them. And eventually you will see the boulder just fall into the lava. But yeah, Rebecca Rupp wrote this book, and it's about... It's like a mini little epic where water is running out. The water is drying up in the world, and it's about this kid and his little sister and their father who ends up supposedly getting killed, trying to recover the water of their land. And they meet two other tribes who are trying to basically accomplish the exact same thing, and they also meet sets of older characters who were part of, like, an ancient bond to help recover, to maintain the balance of natural resources. And it is such an immensely satisfying read, and I highly recommend it. It's called The Waterstone by Rebecca Rupp. If you ever want a really good... a surprise. I mean, it's really a surprise reading it. I actually was really impressed by it. Here's the workshop. There is a workshop over here. It's being worked by a level 10 troll, which is very good. My imp will go to work claiming this, and then we'll have a level 10 troll. That is awesome, and not to mention the workshop. Almost got it.
You have taken control of a new...
Yep, now we have a level 10 troll at our disposal. Booyah. Getting back to books, and there's also another door at the back of this library. We'll get to that, the back of this workshop, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to make this place nice and square. Yeah, but we open it up, there is a horned demon, but I am just going to send him off to the portal, because I don't like the horned demon. I really don't. You can beat this game without the horned reaper, I'm sorry. The horned reaper. You can beat this game without this level without the horned reaper. One of the worst books I think I've ever read was... Not the worst book, but I got into Garth Nix after reading his Keys to the Kingdom series, and I read all his stuff. There's a book called Shades Children that he wrote, a single book that's about... It has to do with a moment in time when all peoples who were older than 13 disappeared, and then all of a sudden these aliens came and captured all the kids and started harvesting their bodies. It's such a weird story. Like, that's the premise of the book, and then it has to do with Shade, a being who owns a ship, who's protecting some of the kids from these monsters while trying to gain resources to maintain them. And it has to do with them recovering the kids and them trying to stop these people and get them... And they end up actually stopping them in a fairly implausible manner. They stop, like... And I realize here I actually built the wrong room. It's kind of weird because they have these satellite towers that are making it seem like... making them have control of the world. It's so weird. A weird story. At least it was an oozy feeling at the end of the day. And then there's another book he wrote called... What's the title of the book? The Rag Witch. Which is a fucking creepy-ass book. I'm sorry, it is way too scary for me. It is about this rag doll that comes to life and takes over the mind of a little girl. And it is not terrible. It's just, the idea is just really scary of this raggedy doll, like, coming to life and attacking people. Like, I'm not a big fan of, like, Chucky movies or anything. Like, I hate scary movies. I really do. I hate scary movies. Scary stuff actually really bugs me. I was a kid who, oh god, one of my deep secrets, I did not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as a kid. And it is to this day, I hate being called Charlie. I hate being called Charlie. It's not as bad now as it used to be, but, like, I never liked being called Charlie. Because when I was a kid, the Oompa Loompas scared the shit out of me. I hated the Oompa Loompas so bad. They were such frightening creatures, and I had no idea what they were supposed to be. And the fact that they had, I knew they were little people. I actually knew what a little person was, but it was just so scary to see them with their makeup and stuff, and it scared me so much. The whole Violet scene scared the crap out of me. The idea of, like, blowing up into a blueberry, it was all so scary to me as a kid. Like, yeah, I don't want to watch this movie. I mean, now I love it. I mean, I have it in my DVD collection. I love it so much. But I remember as a kid that thing just freaked me out because I did not have a concept that... I understood it wasn't real. Now we're getting a really interesting idea, reality versus fantasy. I did understand it wasn't real. I understood the movie wasn't real. I got that I was watching just a fantasy and that was okay. But I guess I just had this idea. You see things that just creep you out. It's like in Super Paper Mario when Mimi's head is spinning. It's like, ugh. I watched that on Charlie Conroy's channel. And that just he was right. That is genuinely creepy. Her head, especially if you just never seeing it for the first time, like it is genuinely a creepy thing. One of the creepier things the Mario series has ever done. Actually, the Paper Mario series, I am impressed with how dark they've made the Paper Mario series. Just without really even trying, because in the original Paper Mario, I thought the idea of Mario being accused of murder in the 7th chapter was actually really interesting. And then in Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, the whole body switching thing with Dupless was really... Oh, I said his name. With Dupless was really interesting. Because I'm like, you know, the Mario series has honestly never done this before. I've never seen this kind of a plot line where we get to this. And I thought it was an interesting way to tell narratives. By the way, I don't hate Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I think it's very meh compared to the fact that Paper Mario basically is the exact same game. They're almost... I might actually do a video at some point where I really just heavily criticize those. Because a lot of people say, oh, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, its storytelling was so much greater than the first Paper Mario. It's an amazing game. Like, no, it isn't. It's the exact same game. They've improved some mechanics of it. They've added a couple battle things. But it's the exact same game. In fact, I'll just go on the tangent right here. Okay. In the first game, you got Goombario. Guess what he does? You can use his tattle ability to figure out the weaknesses of monsters, their HP, their attack point, defense points. Cool. Then you got Goomba. By the way, I set up a treasure room here just to have other places to put money. Yeah, because I was picking up money and just dropping it somewhere. I didn't land on the idea of just simply making the treasure room until a little while later. But yeah, in the first game you got Goombario who can tattle. In the second game you got Goombella who can tattle. So we have a Goomba who can tattle. The next partner is a Koopa, either Koops or Kooper, who have shell attacks. A little bit of a switch around with some of the partners, but hear me out. We get Bo, who can use an ability to make you invisible so you can't be attacked by a creature who is invincible. Tubba Blubba. In Thousand Year Door, you get Vivian, who can use the Veil ability to hide Mario so he cannot be attacked by a body-shifted creature who is invincible. Because he can use invincible magic. Sound familiar? In the first game, you get Bombette, a Bob-omb who can blow up walls. In the second game, you get Admiral Bobbery, who is a Bob-omb who can blow up walls. You get... Okay, there's a couple variances. You get Watt in this first game, who can light up walls and who can light up rooms. Sorry, not walls, rooms. You get the little Yoshi in the second game, who can do a little hovering to get you across small gaps. That was done by Parakarry in the first game, though I don't think we actually get a flying character in the second game, do we? Do we? Do we actually get someone? Oh, Madame Flurry, who can fly using her stage presence. By the way, how did her breast get by Nintendo of America? I do not know how that passed. I really don't. Maybe it's just how it's portrayed. Like it's no different than a woman who's simply big-breasted wearing a blouse. I don't know how we get away with that, but they're so defined. I'm amazed. Like, did we have to have the fact that they're literally sticking out? I showed that to my friend Eva in college. She's like, oh my god. She couldn't believe it. This is also my same friend, by the way, who I showed her the infamous jiggle physics of certain fighting games, and she's like, oh, that's so fake. You know, somebody made this. Like, no, Eva, that's actually true. And I never actually convinced her of that, but she does not think that jiggle physics actually exists in fighting games. Eva, yes it is. That is actually a real thing. We're not lying about that. So there's just so many plot elements of Paper Mario and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door that are very similar. You're gathering 7 MacGuffins. You're giving 7 Star Spirits versus 7 Crystal Stars. You go to... Let's see. It's to me, it's such a black and white thing that it's like, you know, they're the exact same thing. Like, why are they different? Let me think about the bosses for a sec. go to... Yeah, it was so much easier when I was bitching about it. But I feel like... I do feel there are a lot of similarities in the two games, and it makes it very difficult to say, this game is something totally freaking new. And it's like, well, no, it isn't. Oh, there's inner cutscenes where you go to Peach, and she's doing something in the first game, and with Twink, and there's inner cuts with Peach in the second game where you go do things with Tech. By the way, the stuff with Bowser is freaking awesome when you do the Bowser levels, which probably inspired Super Paper Mario. But yeah, I just think there are so many elements of the game that are just so... It's such a similar plot. I think the plot is so similar, and you can decorate that with all these side characters, but it really doesn't matter because they don't involve in the plot. Yeah, that's another thing. I started thinking about that, okay, because I started thinking to myself, okay, Charles, what is it about the game you actually have a problem with? Okay, if you're saying these games are all similar, what would you change about it that would actually make this a tangibly different gaming experience? Make it that the chapters weren't so individual.
You need a bigger
I do like the idea that there are story-driven narratives in the chapters. I like that. That's cool. Why is it that those never amount to anything later? For example, we learned that Koops was trying to find his long-lost father. Well, what if upon finding Hooktail, what if we were led to a clue as to Koops' long father, like where he was? And then Koops' father like shows up like very later, like say with like Gloomtail. When you're fighting Gloomtail, we actually find Koops' father, and we actually find out more. What if it actually carried into the narrative more? Vivian is a huge glaring plot hole in the story. We kind of can understand that maybe Beldam didn't tell her everything. But my thought was like, why didn't Vivian know about the Shadow Queen? I mean, looking at Vivian, Beldam, and Marilyn, they look exactly like the Shadow Queen, or at least lower disciples of her. Wouldn't Vivian have known what that was? It would have been kind of interesting if we cut to Vivian every once in a while, and like, she kind of knows what's going on, but like because of like Beldam's threats, like she never told Mario right out flatly, or she just kind of forgot about it. There are things that we never really address characters beyond after we get them. Like, where are the Yoshi's parents? I mean, there's this egg here. Where are Yoshi's parents? I mean, that was never acknowledged. It's like, they're making these interesting plot threads, but then they never continue on to fruition. They never kind of make it into the narrative in a really meaningful way. Like, oh, we find... Because Koops. I'll start with Koops. Cooper. We get Cooper... No, Koops. He's Koops in the second game. We get Koops, and then my father was disappeared fighting Hooktail, and I want to go save him and find out what happened to him. And we beat Hooktail, and boom, there's his father. Plot resolved. We never hear from Koops' father again meaningfully. We hear him at the end. We can go talk to him, but we can hear him at the end of the game, and it's like, well, he doesn't do anything. It's stupid. Why is he there? I like the Pinatas. The Pinatas, they actually did really, really well, where you have to go see, Don Pinata, and you find his daughter, and then she keeps coming back as a plot device. I like that. That was done right, because then they were a meaningful part of the narrative of the story. I like that the Robos weren't really developed that much. That was kind of disappointing. Miss Mouse was done very well. I like that. I actually never got her as a partner in the first game, when I played it the first time through. But I like the fact that, like, you constantly see her a couple times, and then she offers to be a partner. That was kind of interesting. I like that. But then the rest of them just kind of make the sidelines, like they never actually do anything beyond their opening chapters. They don't have meaningful parts in their parts to play after that point, other than just being battle members. So that's kind of where I give the game a knack for people who are like, oh, this is the best story-driven Paper Mario. Well, it's like, no, it isn't. This game could have been way better. It could have been way better than what it was, and I didn't like that. Yeah, so that's my beef with it. Also, like, I always wanted like a big reveal that the X-Nauts were bloopers. Because doesn't Grotus kind of look like his head is a blooper? Because that's really kind of one of the only main enemies and we do fight a blooper in the underground tunnels, but I always felt like that was kind of the one enemy that was missing in the games. Like, where are the bloopers? And here they are. Here's the bloopers. And they're like, they discover this magic, and that's how they want to live in the air from now on. Would have been kind of interesting. So I got lots of my Warlock's training. Did I get the final spell? There is one final spell I try to get in this level, the Destroy Wall spell, and it takes forever to get this magic. It might have been here that I landed on the idea of simply expanding the... Yep, I landed on the idea of expanding the treasure room. It's like, well, why not just make this bigger so I can just store more gold? As opposed to my imps just struggling to find space. Here come my imps to dig out the walls. Level 3 imps are awesome. They're fast. So yeah, that's my rant on Paper Mario and Super Paper Mario. My rant on Paper Mario and Paper Mario the 1000 Year Door. I do like that Super Paper Mario is something different. There is a definite different thing happening. And that story is very narratively driven. I like how that story works. It is actually a narrative. It just seems like in 1000 Year Door, just like the first game, you are going after MacGuffins. There is nothing really different happening, so I also almost said, why was this game even made? There's nothing different in this game. I'm not saying it is not enjoyable. I am not saying it is not a first-rate game. I'm saying because of the existence of the first game, what was the point of this one if you weren't really going to improve on the formula? That's my argument. Oh, that's a long-winded speech. Oh, I still got half an hour. Probably cut it here.